Welcome to the Football Guys Dynasty Show. It's me, Jagger May. Then with me, as always, is our Dynasty captain, Jeff Bell. And we are breaking down those trades like promised. It is our second trade episode, guys. So I went through the YouTube comments and I took your trades, popped them into a little sheet, and then me and Jeff are going to judge you like overlords and see how you did. Um, with that being said, we have our first one, which is a Michael Pittman trade. And Jeff, this is a fun one for you because, like you said, you just don't understand Michael Pittman, and you've been seeing him going pretty early in startups or not, like third round. And this is Superflex, right?
Yeah, that's Superflex, the draft that I'm in right now. He went in the third round of a Superflex startup, so that was a little bit surprising. I think there's a very good chance we've seen Michael Pittman's best football and best fantasy scoring. We know the concerns about Anthony Richardson's throwing the ball that have come out, but I just think there's this perception with Michael Pittman that he's like 22 years old and he's almost 27. So I don't know. It's interesting to me.
Yeah. So this trade is the from the Michael Jordan of gambling. I love the name. I'm not gonna lie, you made the list for the name alone. But Michael Pittman for Brian Thomas Jr. and a 2026 second. I think this is where you would normally say is the pick is on the wrong side, right?
Given the steam that we're seeing on Brian Thomas, I mean, kind of feel that way. And that was one of the things I said to you pre-show was when I started playing Dynasty, this is like a lot of what you would see where you'd be able to flip a veteran for a young, promising prospect and a draft pick. And then it felt like there might have been a little bit of a window where people realized and that pick when started to go on the other side. And I'd be thrilled if we go back to being able to flip a 26, 27-year-old receiver in kind of a little bit of a questionable situation for a player rookie that looks fantastic and a second round pick. I mean, that's something that I'm going to try to do all day.
Yeah, it's no question I lean the Brian Thomas Jr. side. We had Alfredo on last week, and we've all been pretty bullish on Brian Thomas Jr. And I mentioned that I think that he has all the tools to be the next DK Metcalf, if you really think about it. I know that he's the best route runner right now. Neither was DK Metcalf, but these are super athletes with excellent speed downfield, and more importantly, they have size. So there's going to be these games where he'll go off for 3 touchdowns, and then he might have a quiet game. Moreover, what DK Metcalf hasn't had, I guess for only 1 year, he had good Russell Wilson. Brian Thomas Jr. has Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence looked good last year. And again, this is one of those things where you even give stats for this, and a lot of people are like, well, that's narrative-based stats. Like, no, not really. If you look at how many of them touchdowns were called back, and if you look at how Calvin Ridley was used and how just not good Zay Jones is for how frequently they were targeting him. Brian Thomas Jr. is exactly what this team needs, and then Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk can eat underneath. This is the guy that you want now before he's too expensive. I'm already getting trades for all my shares right now because I've been so bullish on him. We'll go to the next trade here. Sorry, the Michael Jordan of gambling. Maybe that's a little presumptuous on your name. Next we go to Coach Drew 3377. Michael Pittman and Josh Jacobs for Jaxon Smith-Njigba and a 25 first. Because of Josh Jacobs and knowing the Packers situation, I think this is a fair trade. Because Josh Jacobs gives you a good win now piece. I like Jaxon Smith-Njigba, but if you don't have a running back, getting Michael Pittman doesn't suck because, I think he has a safe floor. What do you think, Jeff?
I would agree with that. I think Pittman, relatively safe floor. I'm pretty in on Josh Jacobs. I was in on him early in kind of the offseason once he signed. And then, there was the story about Aaron Jones they wanted to keep him around, and they obviously the Marshawn Lloyd draft pick, and then the story about AJ Dillon looking good in camp. But now I feel like we've kind of back to the place where we're set up for bell cow Josh Jacobs and to have a great fantasy season if he does have that role. I think he is a player that, even though he is a little bit older, can still raise his value quite a bit if that Packers offense looks as good as it did last year, and he's kind of just the feature back in that role. That's flirting with top 5 fantasy running back upside. So that's where I like that move. Getting that, that pick to give up those, I would assume that you're contending. So I would assume
Yeah.
it would be a contending first if you're going to make that trade. So you're looking at the back half of the first round. We've talked a little bit about feeling a little bit better about the 25 class, but those picks right now in the market are a little devalued. And Jaxon Smith-Njigba, I do think that Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going to have a strong year this year, but if he doesn't, then that's a full-blown panic in Dynasty.
Yeah, and I will say that Tyler Lockett hasn't really been in camp. I don't think he's been banged up for a little bit. And then another thing is that, like, I know me, you, again, talking to Alfredo, he is as well. Ryan Grubbs being in this offense, I'm incredibly bullish on it. He was running pro concepts at Washington, and that's a lot of reason why people like Michael Penix and why it elevated his game. This isn't, I wouldn't say like a Josh Heupel kind of like Mickey Mouse, a kind of Mickey Mouse air raid offense. They're going to be kind of moving DK and JSN all over the field, and he's not just going to be a screen merchant. Because again, this is another one of those things, like you said. I don't know if it was the episode before now, where teams, or excuse me, managers don't really accept actual like factual narrative on something that, like, Jaxon Smith-Njigba was hurt. They're like, well, they only used him on screens and like a gadget player, so he's not good. It's like, that's just not true. That's just working someone back in for an injury. So I love that both sides of this. If you're rebuilding, again, you're getting a late first, assuming, or mid to late first, and then you're going to get a player that has a lot of opportunity to move closer to Michael Pittman's value, and you're getting rid of an asset that's going to lose value probably after this year, like Josh Jacobs. So win-win there. Before we go any further, make sure to like and subscribe. And again, guys, always comment your trades on this video, and me and Jeff we're glad to talk about them and judge you, even if it's not just for your trade, but your name at you, the Michael Jordan of gambling. I love you guys. I'm just ribbing a little bit. We won't judge you too hard. But again, guys, comment. Let us know how we're doing. If you're over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you could put your trades there. Give us a review. And moreover, go over to footballguys.com/plans. We have now, I think, our GOAT tiers coming out now, where we're going to give you, like, people like me and Jeff, I know the company is asking us, because we make the big bucks, to give you guys like some concierge time where you can ask us questions and we'll answer for you. We've got other things like our draft sync on now, even though draft season is kind of slowing down. And more importantly, I've started writing now, guys, and I want you guys to read my stuff so people know that I learned how to read and write. All right. That being said, we got another trade for Ray Davis. This guy, Max D 1214, said that he took our advice and then went after Ray Davis. And he traded the 201 for Ray Davis, the 301, and a 25 third. He says he knows the 20, it's going to be close to the 201 because the guy says that he's tanking. And again for the 301. So which side of this do you like?
If okay, so I guess maybe in my mind when I first saw it, I thought that was like the set in stone 201, and it was looking like maybe like a Lad McConkey type, and so knowing that it's a future second, I like it a little bit more there because uncertainty can happen. I mean, he can say that he's taking, but maybe he starts out 2-0 or something like that, and he decides he wants to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think that Ray Davis is the type of player that, yeah, there's a chance where he makes that an even split with James Cook, maybe even slightly pulls ahead of James Cook, maybe. So that's where you're kind of in play on that one. And then I'm always looking at grabbing those future thirds to kind of balance those seconds out, because yeah, you get a situation where maybe you flip that third for another second, and all of a sudden you turn this trade into, you stash a Demarcus Robinson or something like that, and you're able to trade Demarcus Robinson in a third for a second, and all of a sudden you just move back 6 spots to get to get an extra third in Ray Davis. So those are the types of things that how I would look to spin off of this. But yeah, I think that right now, I mean, what, that 201, that's probably not going to be like Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson, or don't think, but
I
I
mean,
think
it
that
could.
grabbing Davis.
I think it could be like you say, Lad McConkey. I think Xavier Restrepo might go there. One of these tight ends like Loveland, Ferguson, or Lashley, or well, excuse me, Luke Lachey. Whatever one falls will be there, and then whatever QB that everyone likes the least, but is willing to draft. That's what I
Yeah.
have it. So you like there's someone there. And then like I love this for you, Max, that you got Ray Davis. Like if you need a running back, go and get him. And then the 301. Like I said, you gave him his two back and then got his, like, I guess two additional thirds. Those are decent gambles. Right now, the third round, you could get like a Torrey Horton type player. The third round right now is a little bit shallow where you got a lot of like ifs and buts players. But again, normally someone falls or someone rises up to where you can get someone pretty good there. So like that trade.
Third, I want to say thirds right now. Like I said, that's a piece that I'm looking to turn into a second. That you've got an entire year now where, and we see people are a little bit more willing in season. That if a wide receiver emerges, maybe we talked about Noah Brown in our last episode. If Noah Brown's giving you consistent top 40 wide receiver production, that's where you can use those thirds and Noah Brown and kind of capitalize and move into a little bit more stable assets or higher end potential assets.
Yeah. Exactly. The next trade that we have it's fun. I think it's the most fun we have. It's a Patrick Mahomes trade. Someone traded Mahomes for Caleb Williams and Odunze. Would you make this trade?
Boy, this is a fun one. Man, I'm probably still on the Mahomes side just a little bit, just because I want to see the Caleb on a real NFL field. Like really give me a good week, and then I might swing pretty hard the other direction. But right now, Mahomes feels a little bit safer. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about as safe as you get.
I'm a little crazy. It would there would be context where I'd go the other side. If my
Yeah.
roster is solid, rock solid, I'm ready to compete, I'm just keeping Mahomes. But if I'm a rebuilder, I'm 100% doing the other side every time. If I need a wide receiver and I'm shallow, I don't have three guys that I think are studs that I can start week over week, I would do this trade as well. I'd
Let's
risk
say
it for
3 months ago. 3 months ago, you essentially would have traded Patrick Mahomes for the
for
101 and
two
the
first.
107.
Yeah. Now it sounds bad. When you put it like that, it sounds bad. But
Yeah.
it's more like now that we know, like you said, they're not on a real football field, but they did play real football at least, and we have a lot more evidence. So like, and again, when you say 101 and 107, that sounds icky, but this could be one of those things where we look back and that seems like a fair trade.
Yeah.
Mavo Marnock, 38-36. You've got some cojones, dude, and I hope this works out for you. Please keep us updated on this. I hope you win it, or I hope you're just rebuilding and having fun. The last trade that we'll talk about is a Justin Fields trade. And this, again, I felt like it was fun because Zamir White for Justin Fields. Someone that we know is probably going to lose value and someone that could gain a whole lot of value. Which side are you on this trade? Or is it like even?
In Superflex, I would rather just hold Justin Fields and hope that it works out, because I'm the last remaining person on Justin Fields Island probably. I mean, I understand wanting to get out and get something for Fields. I don't know. I know I've been one of the biggest skeptics on Zamir White, because I think that we're both think that Dylan Lave is very talented, and we've heard. I mean, there's rumblings that Alexander Madison's not nothing. So if you're looking at Zamir White in a three-headed backfield for one of the worst offenses in the league, I mean, I'd rather just throw the dart at Justin Fields, because we know that if Justin Fields becomes the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, that value is insane in Dynasty, insane in fantasy. If he hits if he hits this year as a super flex quarterback for the Steelers, we know that we're flirting with a top 12 quarterback there. If it looks like long term the Steelers are willing to commit to him, then there's no Zamir White that can be even close to that value.
Yeah. I'm probably taking Justin Fields 9 times out of 10 unless I'm desperate for a running back. But like I'm Actually, I think I'm just taking Justin Fields because if I'm desperate for a running back, I'm not going to buy Zamir White. I'd rather overpay for someone that I know is at least going to retain some value next season than just settle for Zamir White. It's just not the move. So I think Nadia Cap'n 4321, you did a good job getting rid of a sinking asset for something. And this, at the end of the day, think of it this way: best case scenario, you're going to have Justin Fields, who's going to be a starter with lots of upside. Worst case scenario, you lost something that was going to have no value and gained something that was no value. So like to me, I feel like this is like a plus EV move. Some might disagree. Some might think you could get more for Zamir White later, but I don't know if Russell Wilson has a firm grip on the starting job as a lot of people think.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair, but really when it comes down to it, especially a running back like Zamir White, I go a lot off what redraft value is dictating, and he's been a player that he's been slipping in drafts that I've been doing. He's been, it seems like everybody's nervous to be holding him there, and I think that we know how big the overreaction for week one or even the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season are. If we're looking at a situation where Zamir White needs a touchdown to not be a 7-point PPR player, then what a yacht. I think the value could disappear pretty quickly off that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, that's it, folks. Short and sweet for this week. If you guys want to have a longer episode, give us those juicy trades. And again, even if they're in your league and they're not something that you're involved in, let us know. Because we're hoping that if you guys listen to us, that you're just winning trades. You're just showing us your W's, but show us what the rest of the people are doing and put them on blast. We'll do it for you right here on the Football Guys Dynasty Show. As always, like and subscribe. Make sure to go over to footballguys.com/plans so you can have more of our content. Jeff writes stuff all the time. I now write stuff all the time. I'm going to be giving you Dynasty rankings. I'll be giving you a big board, which me and Jeff are about to talk about for our Thursday episode. As well as I'll be giving you your waiver futures article every week now, and that is Dynasty focus. So, as always, I am Jagger, and with me is Jeff Bell. We will see you guys next time.